I couldn't believe it. I actually pulled up the electric bills, real ones from real residents. PDF files, account numbers blacked out, but the balance was right there. $0.00. Month after month. Then I looked at the weather data. Central Florida, summer, 95 degrees, humidity like a wet blanket. And these people are running AC 24/7 for free. That's not how electricity works. That's not how anything works. Unless someone figured out how to break the system and 2,000 families decided to move there to prove it. Look, before we go any further, I need you to do something for me. If you're as tired as I am of watching videos that promise you affordable living and then show you a crime-ridden neighborhood 2 hours from civilization, or a retirement scam disguised as a deal, hit that like button right now. And if you want more videos where I actually investigate claims instead of just repeating marketing copy, subscribe. Because I'm done with the lies and I think you are too. Let's actually figure out what's real. So here's what I need you to understand. I wasn't looking for this place. I was researching cheap Florida towns, places like Lake City and Avon Park, where you can buy a house for the price of a used car. And then I kept seeing this name pop up, Babcock Ranch. And every single article, every forum post, every Reddit thread said the same thing, $0 electric bills. And I thought, okay, this is obviously a scam. This is solar panel salesmen who figured out how to sell a dream to retirees who don't know better. But then I saw the solar fields. I mean, really saw them. Satellite images of 870 acres of solar panels. That's not a rooftop installation. That's not a neighborhood with some panels scattered around. That's a massive solar array generating enough power for 30,000 homes. And I realized this isn't some guy with a clipboard at Costco trying to sell you a lease. This is a whole town that was built from scratch with a completely different rule book. So I had to know, is this the future of American housing, or is it just the world's most elaborate marketing scheme with a solar aesthetic? Because if it's real, if people are actually living there with no electric bills while the rest of us are rationing our AC and panicking every time we check our bank account in August, then we need to talk about what that means. Let me tell you what Babcock Ranch actually is, because the name sounds like a retirement community your grandma would move to. And honestly, that's kind of what it is, except it's not. It's a planned community in southwest Florida, near Fort Myers, and it was built starting in 2018. Not renovated, not revitalized. Built from nothing. And the entire design, the entire concept, was organized around one single idea. What if we didn't connect to the traditional power grid at all? What if we just made our own power and gave it to everyone who lives here? And so they did. They built one of the largest solar arrays in the United States, 150 megawatts of power generation sitting right there in the Florida sun, which, let's be honest, Florida has plenty of. And every single home in Babcock Ranch is wired directly into that solar grid. Not as a backup, not as a supplement, as the primary source, the only source. Now here's where it gets interesting. The claim that your electric bill is $0 is technically true, but it's also technically misleading. And I want to be honest with you about how this actually works, because that's the only way we can figure out if this is a good deal or not. You don't get a bill from Florida Power and Light. You don't get a bill from Duke Energy. You don't get any electric bill at all, but you do pay a homeowners association fee every single month. And that HOA fee is somewhere between $150 and $200 depending on the size of your house and which neighborhood you're in. And that fee covers your solar energy, your water, your internet, and your cable. It's all bundled together into one flat monthly cost. So is your electric bill zero? Yes. Are you paying for electricity? Also yes. But here's the difference, and this is the part that matters. You're not paying per kilowatt hour. You're not watching a meter tick up every time you turn on the AC. You're not doing math in your head about whether you can afford to be comfortable in your own home. You're paying a subscription for unlimited energy. And psychologically, emotionally, financially, that is a completely different experience. Think about it like this. Right now, if you live in Florida and you run your AC all day in July, you're going to get a bill for $300, maybe $400. And the whole month, you're anxious. You're turning the thermostat up to 78, even though you're sweating. You're closing doors to rooms you're not using. You're playing a game with yourself where you try to use as little power as possible because you're terrified of that bill. It's this constant low-grade stress that you don't even notice anymore because it's just normal. But in Babcock Ranch, that stress doesn't exist. You pay your HOA fee at the beginning of the month, and then you're done. You can run the AC at 65 degrees if you want. You can leave lights on. You can charge your car, run your pool pump, do whatever you want, and the cost doesn't change. That psychological relief, that freedom from anxiety is worth something. And for a lot of people, it's worth a lot. Now here's the part where I have to be real with you because I don't want to sell you a fantasy. Babcock Ranch is not cheap. Homes here start at $300,000, and they go up from there. Some of the nicer properties are $400,000, $500,000, $600,000. Compare that to Lake City, where the median home price is $215,000, or Avon Park, where you can buy a house for $84,000, and you start to see the problem. Babcock Ranch is more expensive than almost every affordable Florida town we've ever covered on this channel. So, if it's more expensive, why are people moving there? Why is there a wait list? Why are families paying a premium to live in a place that's supposed to be about saving money? Because that doesn't make sense on the surface, but when you dig deeper, when you actually talk to people who live there or read the forums where residents post, you start to see a pattern. They're not moving there because it's cheap. They're moving there because it's predictable, because it's resilient, because it feels like someone finally built a place that makes sense instead of just slapping houses onto old infrastructure and hoping it holds together. Let me give you an example. In 2022, Hurricane Ian hit Southwest Florida. It was one of the strongest hurricanes to ever make landfall in the United States. It destroyed entire neighborhoods. It knocked out power to millions of people. Some areas didn't get electricity back for weeks. At Babcock Ranch, it stayed on. The solar panels kept generating power. The grid kept running. People were charging their phones, running their refrigerators, staying cool while 10 miles away their neighbors were sitting in the dark with no idea when the lights would come back. That's not just a feel-good story. That's a fundamental shift in how we think about infrastructure. Because the traditional grid is fragile, it's vulnerable. One hurricane, one storm, one blown transformer, and you're powerless. Literally. But when your town generates its own energy, when you're not dependent on transmission lines that run for hundreds of miles through swamps and forests, you have resilience, you have control. And in a state like Florida, where hurricanes are just a fact of life, that resilience is worth paying for. And it's not just about hurricanes, it's about the long game. Right now, electric bills are only going up. Infrastructure is aging. Utility companies are passing maintenance costs onto customers. Every year, you're paying more for the same service, and there's nothing you can do about it because you're trapped in the system. But in Babcock Ranch, your cost is fixed. Your HOA fee might go up a little bit because of inflation, but it's not tied to energy prices. It's not tied to grid maintenance. You've opted out of that whole system. So when people say Babcock Ranch is booming, this is what they mean. It's not booming because it's cheap. It's booming because it offers something that money can't usually buy: certainty. The certainty that your bill won't spike. The certainty that the lights will stay on when everyone else's go out. The certainty that you made a choice that might actually protect you from the chaos that's coming. But let's talk about the other reason people are moving there, because it's not all about money and electricity. Babcock Ranch was designed to feel like a real town. It's walkable. There are parks, schools, a downtown area with shops and restaurants. There are community events, farmers markets, concerts in the park. It's not just a housing development where everyone drives into their garage and never talks to their neighbors. It's a place where people actually know each other, where kids ride bikes to school, where you can walk to the coffee shop in the morning and see familiar faces. And I know that sounds corny. I know it sounds like a brochure. But here's the thing. Most of America doesn't have that anymore. Most of us live in places that were designed for cars, not people. Places where you have to drive everywhere, where there's no center, no gathering place, no sense of community. And people are hungry for that. They're tired of feeling isolated. They're tired of suburban sprawl where every street looks the same and no one knows their neighbor's name. Babcock Ranch is selling a vision of what life could be like if we actually design towns for human beings instead of just maximizing profit per square foot. And yes, it's expensive. Yes, it's aspirational. But the fact that it exists at all, the fact that 2,000 people are living there right now and more are trying to get in, tells you something about what people actually want when they're given the choice. Now here's where it gets uncomfortable, and I'm not going to sugarcoat this. Babcock Ranch is not accessible to everyone. If you're making $40,000 a year, you're not buying a house there. If you're barely scraping by and you need the absolute cheapest option, Babcock Ranch is not it. This is a place for people who have some financial flexibility, who can afford to pay more now in exchange for stability later. And that raises a bigger question. Is this the future? Or is this just a luxury product for people who can afford to escape the system while everyone else stays trapped? Because if innovation only happens for the wealthy, if the only people who get to live in resilient, sustainable, well-designed communities are the ones who can already afford it, then what are we actually building here? We're just creating a two-tiered society where some people get to opt out and everyone else gets left behind. But here's the flip side. Babcock Ranch proves that it's possible. It proves that we could redesign how we live if we wanted to. That we could build towns that generate their own power, that are resilient to climate disaster, that actually feel like communities instead of just subdivisions. The reason we don't is because it's expensive upfront, because it requires vision, because it's easier to just keep doing things the way we've always done them and let the infrastructure crumble and charge people more to live in the ruins. Most affordable Florida towns are affordable because nothing new is happening there, because they got left behind when the economy moved on, because they're relying on buildings and systems that were put in place 50, 60, 70 years ago and no one's investing in making them better. Babcock Ranch is expensive because everything new is happening there, because someone decided to start from zero and build it right. So here's the real question, and this is the one you have to answer for yourself. Do you choose cheap now and expensive later? Or expensive now and stable later? Do you buy the $84,000 house in Avon Park and hope nothing breaks? Or do you stretch your budget to buy into a system that was designed to last? There's no right answer. I'm not here to tell you what to do, but I am here to tell you that you have more options than you think. And one of those options is a town where your electric bill is zero, where the lights stayed on during a Category 4 hurricane, and where people are building something that looks a little bit like the future. Let me bring this home. Babcock Ranch isn't a fairy tale. It's not perfect, it's not accessible to everyone, but it's real. The solar panels are real. The $0 electric bills are real, as long as you're okay with reframing what you're paying for. And the boom is real because people are exhausted. Exhausted by unpredictable bills, by fragile infrastructure, by the feeling that the system is rigged and there's no way out. Babcock Ranch offers a way out, but it costs you up front. Is this the future? Maybe. Is it accessible to everyone? No. Not yet. And that's the tension. Because what Babcock Ranch proves is that we could redesign how we live, but we've chosen not to. Most towns aren't built like this because it's expensive, it's risky, and it requires someone to have vision and take a bet. It's easier to let old infrastructure decay and just keep charging people more to live in it. But here's what gives me hope. Babcock Ranch exists. That means it's possible. And if it's possible once, it can be possible again. Maybe in 10 years there are 5 Babcock Ranches. Maybe in 20 years this model is normal and we look back and wonder why we ever accepted the old way. Or maybe it stays a luxury experiment for people who can afford to opt out. Either way, you now know it exists, and you can't unknow that. The question isn't whether Babcock Ranch is perfect. It's whether you're willing to imagine that the way things are isn't the way things have to be. Because once you see that something different is possible, even if it's expensive, even if it's flawed, you start asking harder questions about why everywhere else settled for less. You start wondering why your town doesn't generate its own power, why your neighborhood wasn't designed for people, why you've been told your whole life that this is just how it is. If this investigation resonated with you, if it made you think differently about what's possible or what we've been accepting as normal, hit that like button. Drop a comment and tell me, would you move to a place like Babcock Ranch, or You rather take your chances in one of the cheaper towns we've covered before, like Lake City or Avon Park? There's no wrong answer. I'm genuinely curious where you land on this because it tells me what matters to you, what you're willing to sacrifice, what you're willing to pay for. And if you want more videos that actually investigate claims instead of just repeating marketing copy, subscribe. Because I'm tired of the lies too. I'm tired of videos that promise you affordable living and then show you a nightmare. I'm tired of being told that sustainability is only for rich people. I'm tired of accepting that things can't be better. So let's keep digging into what's real. Let's keep asking hard questions. Let's keep looking for places and ideas and systems that actually work instead of just pretending everything is fine. Thanks for watching, and good luck figuring out your next move. Florida's full of options. You just have to decide what you're willing to pay for and what kind of future you want to bet on.